good button, afternoon, wherever you are in the world, evening. We have a wonderful show with The Passion Within today. We've got Daniel Lirette, who is an absolutely amazing, passionate man that has created a program that can help growers of cannabis or hemp grow the most healthy plant, because you can take a picture and the computer is going to tell you what's missing in your soil. So, Daniel, with that being said, if you want to introduce yourself a little bit more, I know you're in Ontario, Canada, and you've been to some universities there. So give us a little bit more detail on Daniel's life.
Yeah, thank you, Ken, for the intro. It's amazing. Happy to be here. So just a little bit of myself. As you mentioned, yeah, I'm here now in the Niagara region. We're just a short drive away from Niagara Falls. I came here from the East Coast. I was originally from New Brunswick, the Moncton region. That's where I grew up. And what kind of brought me out there is this passion that I'm in, and working on our business and making the app. I'm here because we are working with Niagara College, working very closely with them. They are doing what they call the manipulation of nutrient deficiencies. So they're stripping out nutrients out of the cannabis plant, and we are here, and I'm here to go in person to document those with our digital camera. We've got macro lenses, that type of thing. So this is all the core that we need to build this AI that we're working on that helps the diagnosis process. So, we take thousands of pictures. The AI gets to learn all these different symptoms, and then that's applied to the AI, and then the AI makes the diagnosis when you take your picture to help you diagnose.
Oh, that's absolutely amazing, my friend, that you've been able to dial it in so closely, especially with the help of the universities, to get it to that point now that you can instantly, or almost virtually instantly, get the data back that you need. But before we get too much into that, let's take a little bit of, you mentioned you were from New Brunswick. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and where you started your passion to end up where you are today, creating this app.
Yeah, I guess we could. It's funny you mentioned that because it brings a lot of memories on kind of my background in cannabis. So I mean, I was just a regular guy going to school. First experience with cannabis. We were working at this grocery store, and I think we were 16 at the time, and a buddy of mine traded his PS2 for a quarter of cannabis. And then that's kind of how the story started. And then we end up, going to the mall in the bigger town and going behind a dumpster and kind of, lighting up and then kind of chilling around the mall. That was kind of the first experience. That's kind of how I started with cannabis. And then life kind of went on. I went to college in computer programming. First year didn't make it through. I just made 1 year out of the 2 years and then kind of flunked out, went back to work at a gas station, and then afterwards I was like, I'm never staying here. I have to get out of here, and then kind of went back to college and continued my degree in there, just to finish off the computer programming, and then I went to work for this startup company doing online interviewing. So it's a software to help you apply to jobs, that sort of thing. So I handled their product and the testing. And then I saw this opportunity. There was a company doing wheat and corn, sorry.
Right.
And they were doing this diagnosis with AI. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And I was like, well, somebody has to be doing this for cannabis. And, just like doing my research, I checked it out. And, there was some attempts, but nobody just really got to it. Like somebody, I think it was like a DevCon, which is a conference for developers, mentioned the possibility of this. Somebody had made an application or just a website that was called Chronic Sickness, that you could upload the picture and it would just tell you it's a sick plant or a healthy plant. So the potential was there. And then I was like, okay, well, this person, I looked into their profile and they seemed to have got a job. They weren't pursuing this fully. So, at that point I was like, okay, I'm in Canada. It's legal now. It was past legalization. And I was like, okay. And then also I was, after that point, I was on Reddit looking at, how the community was handling it. And, I had grown before and knew that there was problems, had a hard time figuring out what the problems were. I was looking at blogs, low quality images, wasn't like really what I was having. So I was like, is there other people like me? And on Reddit, these threads were flowing. People were putting images. What do I have? What's this problem? And then in there, I saw somebody posting these manipulation of deficiency trials at Niagara College. And in that moment, I was like, okay, I can do this. And this is what it has to be backed by. It has to be backed by the research. We have to go to facilities, research colleges, universities, and have them do these trials, have them then be verified by laboratories. And then we'll add this to the machine learning, and then we'll make the app. And, that's how it'll work. And then that kind of, like, long story short, that's kind of what happened. Started off with just a local research college in New Brunswick. These are more of a PhD people that are doing these trials for companies. That's what the model is of this research college. So they kind of helped us out and got the few deficiencies going. And then later on, we added some more. We had the University of Moncton, Niagara College, as we mentioned, and we added on Colorado State, and we're working a little bit with Cornell University as well now.
Oh, that's fantastic. I was actually going to ask you that question. Which universities are you working with? So basically, what are they stripping out of the plant, the specific nutrients, say calcium, or are they stripping that out of the soil and then growing the plant in it and seeing what the effects are?
So we haven't worked with organic or super soil in the terms. It's always, majority of trials have been in hydroponics, so deep water culture. And that's where, instead of the nutrient mix that you buy at the store, we're going back to the powder. So each individual nutrient is a powder base, and then they'll mix that in without, let's say, extracting the calcium or, that sort of thing. They'll take the nutrient that we're doing the deficiency study on out of the mixture. Or if we're doing toxicity, they'll double it, that type of deal. So it has been mostly on deep water culture. We had one trial with potassium that was in the Pro Mix, but similar to hydroponics as well.
Well, yeah, because you actually have a base understanding of what's in the Pro Mix, so you can take that out of the equation. Because face it, the scientific method, you have to know what you're putting in before you can get the proper data to come out. That's just one of the ways that it has to be done. So are you looking for more universities, more growers? Like right now you're in 4 different universities. How do you see yourself really at this point in the business model, expanding it to a greater reach of universities so that you can speed up the intelligence of your AI?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for us, it's we're going to be raising an investment, a seed round, and that's going to be helping us get more research. So we've almost touched all the deficiencies. Niagara College is finishing up boron, manganese, and molybdenum as we speak. Manganese, boron, and copper. Molybdenum is being done at Colorado State. So once these are done in the next 4 months, we'll have touched on all the deficiencies except for chlorine. So that'll be the last remaining one. And then we'll be heading on to doing toxicities. And what's really interesting to us, and we think is the hugest potential for loss in the industry, is when we're talking about viruses and viroids. So that's one that we will be, and then this investment money will allow us to do that research in hop latent viroids, seeing how the plants are growing differently, because to our knowledge, there's no leaf symptom as other, like potassium, for example, has a clear burning of the leaf. So there's symptoms like that you can see on the leaves. But when we're talking about a hop latent viroid, it's how the branching is on the plant versus a healthy one. Those are the things that we need to teach the machine or the AI how to learn those symptoms. So those are key research that will get done. And then as well as we're going to touch base on other viruses that we've seen. And really for us, it's the big things that we can do. Like we've just concluded tobacco mosaic virus out of the University of Moncton, and there were no symptoms. And that was, again, something that we had heard from Dr. Zamir Punja out of Simon Fraser University. He had mentioned to us that he believed that tobacco mosaic virus was not prevalent and potentially could not show any symptoms. So we're kind of doing these studies, and what's fascinating to us is the whole industry right now. Everybody is saying you have a virus, is tobacco mosaic, but what we're seeing is like that might not even be the case, you know. So it might be another virus is causing that, and the whole industry is just blaming it on tobacco mosaic, right? So we want to kind of help the industry and do the research needed so that the industry knows exactly what we're dealing with, and we're not talking about the bro science or what we think it is. It's actual fact based by science.
Okay, so now if there is no way to actually tell, like if there's no physical symptoms and everybody's saying it's A, but it's not A, what were you able to discern from that data? Are you like there's no physical representation in the plant for that? Was it actually testing in the lab that it had that, or it was on both sides where there was no physical representation and there was nothing in the lab? Is that what you basically discovered at that end?
So to put it into perspective of what the like, this is like when we're talking about the home growers on Reddit. So somebody will post a picture of clear symptoms of a leaf that could look like mutations or could look at a pattern of a virus. And then that's the same. If we look at Dr. Samir Punja's study, there is patterns on some viruses, but the ones that he studied had 4 viruses in those samples simultaneously. So which one it is, we don't know. And that's kind of what we've seen. The study that we've done at University of Moncton, we infected 2 tobacco plants as well. Those tobacco plants completely died off, and the infected one died and were done, and while the healthy ones continued, or the control ones, sorry, I should say, were unaffected. So that's what I'm saying. These plants that we infected, were the virus was present, but the plant continued to grow and express no visual symptoms. So that when we come back into what the Reddit is saying, and everybody, they're seeing these symptoms and blaming tobacco mosaic virus, but it could be one of the other viruses that are prevalent in the industry. There's yeah,
It could be one of the other viruses is actually causing the problem,
the
and
problem
they're
and
just
symptoms. Yeah,
yeah, they've lumped it into one, which is no good,
right.
especially
Yeah,
for a grower, because then you're treating it for something that doesn't exist. We find that in the medical industry a lot, treating the symptom and not the cause. And what
right.
you guys are doing is figuring out the actual cause, which is that's absolutely amazing that you're able to do this, and your passion has come out of your childhood and using cannabis for your own medicinal reasons, that you've created this wonderful app that is going to be able to help literally millions of people on our planet once they find out about it. And you've taken it to a whole new level where, like you mentioned yourself, bro science, a lot of the cannabis industry is still stuck in that bro science mode.
Mm.
And we have to get out of there and actually have a fact-based methodology, and that's what your app is supplying. And like, brother, I'm telling you, like, it's a game changer for any home grower that wants to try to use it. Like, we've done an interview before, we had John Burfello on, and he took a picture of his plants, and he discovered that he had a problem he didn't even realize until he really took a look, and your app caught it way before that. And he actually had to stop, my friends, and he had to, because he'd given out a bunch of clones, and he had to phone the person right away and tell them. So that just shows Daniel and myself just how effective this app is. Now, we're talking right now, you're working with a whole bunch of different scientists, and I'm sure if you could get more, you would be happily take more. But how much of the data are you getting from the science end now, and how much are you getting from the home grower themselves?
Yeah, and then to talk again about the point of the bro science. So one, we don't want to not point out that the legacy and people like John Burfello have a ton of experience and information that is helpful for the industry. What we just won't want is a lot of time it's you're on Reddit and it's somebody that's a novice grower giving advice. That's what we kind of see as the bro science, and kind of want to make sure that that's addressed, right? And that the information like that is not being passed on and people believe something that isn't true. And that's another thing when we're doing our research. when we do something, let's say at CCMB in Grand Falls, New Brunswick, normally the same study will get done at Niagara College. And that's kind of, we're trying to keep that peer review research done, right? So we can see the second study done and then the matching symptoms. And we've kind of done, we've done magnesium toxicity to express some calcium deficiency symptoms, which matched exactly what we've seen at Niagara College with their trial of calcium deficiency. So again, to go to the point of that, the question you were making, so when we talk about the images that we gather, normally our threshold to get accuracy over about 90%, we're looking at about 1,000 leaf shots. And that's normally, we have spent some times, three of us have been, at CCMB, we used to make the drive every about month or so. And at the end of the study, we chop every single leaf off of that plant. And we individually take a picture. So we're there for 4 hours just snapping. And I mean, at the start, it was just me and Kieran. And, I think you can imagine the time it took. And even ourselves, we did some thrips. We had thrips in our house. Like we had a medical license with 100 plants, and thrips showed up. And then we're like, yes, let's go. We're going to collect thrips. So as you can imagine, we collected 6,000 pictures, and we were letting the trees get into, but we were just like, it was like 9-10 weeks in veg. Like we had plants as high as me. And, we're talking about like 1,000 or so leaves that we just chopped and kept taking pictures after picture. And that's really what it took. And then afterwards, it's the fun part of taking those pictures and then filtering those in the correct category so that the AI learns, okay, this is thrips. And then afterwards, it's even going deeper. And it's like, okay, this is the early stage thrips where the pattern is glossy. And, there's only 2 bite marks. And then here's the middle stage where the glossiness has kind of turned white. And there's more, the severity is much more because it's, covered 50% of the leaf. And then here's the 75% plus covered, and it's extremely white, very apparent type deal. So that's kind of what we go through to filter and label them correctly.
And that's fantastic, because now you've created such a massive database where, you can catch it early enough to really be able to treat the problem before it becomes a problem. And that's absolutely amazing. Like, so what would you recommend for, say, a home grower? Should they be taking a picture of their plants, every day, every couple of days, once a week? Or what would you recommend as a time frame, like 10 times a day, maybe?
I think it's a little excessive, 10 times a day. Once a day is usually good enough. But the thing is, it's to check your plant, because like, once you get past that 4-week stage of veg or you're turning into flower, you've got over 100 leaves on the plant, right? If you've grown it correctly, like if you've had stunting and all that, you might be short on leaves. But once you've got 100 or so leaves, like there's you should be checking it out, looking around, checking inside the branches, that sort of thing, so that you can spot out those early symptoms. Like magnesium is a big one that, it provides the intraveinal chlorosis. And that's one our app, we've done that study twice with CCMB and Niagara College. So our data set is very honed in on. And if you had early symptoms of magnesium deficiency, the app would be able to tell you, there you go, that you have magnesium deficiency studies. And then from there, we make sure that the app doesn't tell you, hey, dump that CalMag in. The app says, okay, first stage is to check, is your temperatures good? Because if you're below 18 Celsius for your root zone, your magnesium has been locked out. And then afterwards, we're suggesting, okay, make sure that you haven't overdone your potassium, because if you've done so, you've locked out magnesium. So we always make sure that you read those first steps to make sure, like, oh, maybe I did do too much potassium, and then maybe I should flush, or that type of thing, rather than just like, hey, it's magnesium, dump that CalMag in, right? So we want to make sure that the growers are educated like that too, so it's not just oh, this problem, this solution, right?
Well, and that was one of the things I found with your app, is it didn't just give one solution, it gave a list of solutions. Now, how did you pick what should have as the top solution?
So that's all the AI. The AI will generate the solutions and has a list of what it believes is in categorical order. So that's, again, just data set and us continuing to prove. It kind of builds. It's weird. It builds some it breaks down the images in a bunch of numbers, and then at the end when it makes a prediction, it's, it all has all the categories are there with all our problems, and then the least one is like in a minus number, and then the one that it believes the most is the highest number. So that's kind of how it goes about, and it lists the list according to what it believes is the first and second, third, fourth, so on.
Okay, so say you have a calcium, magnesium, or calcium deficiency.
Yeah.
What how should I phrase this? Are you um, stressing more of an organic to start, a feeding regiment? Are you recommending specific products? Like, how does the AI choose what? Like, it's got the diagnosis, but how to fix it? Basically, I guess that's
Okay,
the real
that's quick.
question.
Okay, so the diagnosis part is not the AI. That's just us writing the diagnosis. I mean, in the near future, it might be the AI. So potentially needed some data points in there to be able to direct you into what's the right the fix for your problem. But yeah, those are us going step by step, and that's been our thing from the start. We are huge. We love organic soil, and we believe that that's how plants should be grown, rather than growing in synthetic with hydroponics or the new bottle nutrients type. So that's always what we suggest first, in a sense of organic soil, how you'll fix it there, and then we still offer you the solution, which normally is just, if you're in hydroponics, it's like, okay, would you have the right nutrient mix? And then it could boil down to, are you using the same company for all your nutrients? Because sometimes people will switch their nutrients. They'll use, let's say, Future Harvest and then an advanced nutrient for their cow mag, or something like that. And we've seen that, and we've helped a ton of people where that was the cause. They were having issues because they were using different formulas, and then they just don't mix together, right? The Future Harvest has worked with their nutrients to make the plant. That's how they've got their mixture, and it's a different for advanced nutrient and all the other ones as well.
Well, which kind of really makes sense because each company has a proprietary mix that they want you to use from the very beginning to the very end, and they've
Mhm.
made it so that it all works as in synergy with each other. And
Yeah.
if you're jumping around, you're out of their formula, you're going to have problems.
Right.
So, one of the other things that I think a lot of cannabis growers have problems with is, what company should they really be looking to help them, like say in a hydroponic situation, because everybody has so many different mixes. So how is your AI able to give um, an overall look and not have to get into the specifics for a different nutrient company, because then you'd have to know what's in each nutrient company. So how is it able to give that broad spectrum of this is what you should be doing if you're in this environment?
uh Again, this is not the AI. The AI is going to work on the AI is going to see what it can from the image, and
Right.
then match that to the patterns and category that we've labeled. So if it sees a
Okay.
calcium, it's going to say it's calcium, and then from there, this is where we, Kieran and I, that have experience, growing, that are suggesting here's what you should do. And normally, when we get into the nutrient mix, we're not going to tell you, hey, use this, use Cano, use this. Like, that's not what we're there to say. We're there to say, hey, check your formula, make sure you're following this. And then again, as I mentioned, it's like, make sure that your humidity is good for calcium, because low
Yeah.
humidity is going to lock you out, or high humidity, all those stuff. We're going to mention the key things that need to be there first, as to make sure that it's not a lockout or something. Like, the calcium is not in the plant or in the water or soil, and then just not being uptaken. So we want to make sure that you get to the right point first, and you're not adding too much or causing issues like that and making your problem much worse.
Okay, fantastic. So you've talked about humidity or vapor pressure deficit. Have you been looking at all at light and your daily light integral and any of that side of it? Which I'm going to assume that you really haven't been, because that opens another can of worms. But you're being more specific, I would think. Or have you been looking into the different environmental effects on the cannabis plant? Because in Canada, we grow mainly indoors. The globe, a lot of people are able to grow outdoors where they can't necessarily change anything like that. Have you been
Mhm.
running into that kind of stuff yet?
So know all about DLI, and that's kind of thing. The only light testing that we've done is we've done a light burn. So we had HPS, we had the LEDs, the quantum boards, that sort of thing. Even the blurple, as they call them, the blue and purple light.
Yep, yep.
So we put those way too close to the leaves, got the burns, and that's that sort of thing. So that's all added in the app, and that can be detectable. In terms of what we do know about the light is normally if you're switching a light and then having more DLI, it might pull more magnesium out. So that's something, as mentioned, magnesium is covered in the app, so it will detect magnesium, and that's kind of one thing that we mentioned in the app as well. It's like if you had a light intake or light, you updated your light, that's a potential cause of magnesium. Your plant is uptaking more, so that's an actual deficiency. So those types
On
of
that,
things.
oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, yeah. So, and then in terms of environmental testing, that sort of thing, that's something that we originally like. It's cool that we did thrips and stuff at home, but being super steady on environment, that sort of thing, that's where we're going to pass that on to Niagara College, for example, where they have they call their canna bunkers, which are storage containers, environmentally controlled at a steady temperature and that sort of thing. So that's where we would pass that experiment on, and get them to do the studies there, where we would maybe do a low temperature for one, or a high temperature, or low humidity, high humidity, that sort of thing. We could play around with the controls at that point, and then that's something that we will do. That's just coming in the near future. That's we were primary focus was getting the deficiencies, toxicities, heading into pathogens and viruses, and then looking more into environmental controls, potential watering issues, that sort of thing.
Okay, so we've basically covered where you've come from, where you're at now. So, how about we've touched a little bit on where you're going with the new testing that you're going to pass on to Niagara College. What else are you looking at for in the future for improving your app and making it more, I guess, generic, that you might be able to do even more plants? Or is that there even a potential for that?
Yeah, the potential is definitely there. Out of curiosity, so where I moved in the Niagara region, it's a very wine is a huge deal. There's a lot of vineyards,
Mhm.
and I was like, hey, what does magnesium deficiency look like on vines? And it is the patterns there. It matches what we're seeing on cannabis. So the potential for us adapting the AI in our data set to vines is already huge. So I have looked at other plants, like when we talk about cucumbers and potatoes and that sort of thing. I have looked into deficiencies, what the studies have been out of universities. Those seem to be a bit different. The pattern is sometimes different, so those might need a bit more adjusting. But just overall, there's potential for the switch to some crops that are very similar to cannabis, that we could definitely do.
I think that would be amazing. I know, the wife loves to garden, and there's so many different plants that she grows. Where if she could walk out with the cell phone, take a picture, and go, "Oh, I need to add a little bit more of this in the future," I think that would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Um, how many other things like do you think that you can do with your app?
I mean, it's funny to say, like, just if we get into continuing the research, touching on all pathogens, and then viruses, and then I personally, I don't think the viruses are going to stop. I think there's, from what we know, kind of are the main ones. Everybody talks about TMV, tobacco mosaic virus, but there's a rabies mosaic virus. There's beef curly top. There's lettuce sclerosis, and then we're talking about phytoplasma, and all sorts of things. So to me, and then when we were talking to the researchers at CCMB, they were mentioning that crop rotation through hemp farmers, and then they're switching to potatoes, and they're doing something else. Those have potential to bring up viruses as well. So viruses are probably never going to stop in this kind of space, especially as new, that sort of thing. So for us just to continue on doing the research into the viruses, the pathogens, and continuing on like doing nutrient deficiencies potentially in different types cultivars. Let's say we're looking at rudolus, or if we want to do like freak show, that cultivar, for example, those will, it's not expressing potentially different symptoms, but like the leaf shapes are different. So just doing this research, we could go on for probably our whole lifetime before we would accomplish the whole thing.
I was gonna say that sounds like a lifetime's worth of
Yeah,
work, and
yeah,
that's a lifetime of an AI. I mean, really.
yeah. And then we haven't even touched on the insects, right? And
Yeah.
that's a whole other can of worms. There's and then we're working with somebody in Thailand right now, and we're like, okay, well, like we could do the deficiencies, but when it comes to the insects, I mean, we're not from Thailand, so we don't know yet. Until it starts happening, and then we'll be able to pinpoint what insects. So like that's another whole avenue. Every region of the world will have a different potential pest for cannabis, and as they come up, we'll be finding out.
Oh, and that sounds amazing, because that's one of the biggest things for your IPM, or integrated pest management, is to identify an insect infestation as early as possible. And like you've done it with the thrips, um, and then you just carrying it on. And yeah, you're right. Like globally, there's so many different insects around the world that can and will, consume a cannabis plant. To pick them all out and say, well, we've got a global thing, is going to take a hell of a amount of work. I think you need to hire 50 or 60 more guys with cameras,
Yeah,
that know what they're doing.
yeah. And then when you talk about insects like aphids or thrips, like there's so many different kinds of thrips and aphids, and they don't all look the same either. So
Yeah.
that's another thing to consider and to look out for. So yeah.
So that's basically where your future is going to be going, once you've got, because I think you said you're down to basically one deficiency left that you're testing. And
Yeah.
then is that where you guys are really going to focus on, is the insect and what's going on in that, or do you have another direction first?
Yeah, the insects are a trickier one than running toxicities or deficiencies, right? Because let's say, I don't think that every facility wants to open their doors to letting pests get in, right? So that's always, we're always, and even when we talk about viruses and viroids, that's when we're always like, hey, how do you guys feel about that, right? We got to kind of nudge a little bit and see, get a feeler. But for us, in New Brunswick, we have it's an amazing cannabis community. People are very open, and Kieran and I had boots on the ground in Buktush with Green Herb. So they're outdoor cultivator. They're focusing more on the hash and the rosin process, but they had I think upwards of 1,000 plants. So we were there, and boots on the ground, taking pictures of what we saw in terms of we saw leaf miners and hemp borers, that type of thing. So when we're there and we can collect them, I think that's what works the best in outdoor grows. But unfortunately, in Canada, summer is quite short, so we have a very tight timeline to get what we can. But that's a progress that we're doing every year, and this year again, we'll probably be there in the summer again, taking pictures, and we work in a collaboration type. So when we go there and we're taking pictures, we also kind of write a report for them, and we're like, hey, your row here, we found this, and then this, so that they kind of get something of value out of it. At the same time, we're getting the pictures, they're getting kind of a report, and they can mitigate how they see fit into what we've mentioned.
And I think having it as a win-win for both you and them is of course the best way, because then they want to work with you, because they're winning as much as you are in being able to be there to take the pictures.
Right.
Would you want more people like that? Like you've got a couple of farms in New Brunswick, but there's farms across the globe
Mhm.
that maybe the best way to approach it is, if you get an infestation, can you start sending us pictures? Is that something you guys have looked at, promoting that side of it yet?
I mean, that's definitely come to mind, but the problem is normally when, let's say, you've had an infestation, you're not looking to keep that a second longer than you need to, right? So we've had Randy Fleming, which is Av Singh's partner, He's been fantastic. He's a wonderful mentor to us, taught us so many things. And back in, I think it was November 2020, he called me up and he said, I've got spider mites. And I said, oh yeah,
Yay!
I'm coming right now. You know, and I came there and I shot, and like that's how we collected our data set for spider mites. But yeah, it's a thing. And that's something we learned through researchers as well. The University of Moncton had a sort of a or anonymous send us some samples. We want to kind of look and test into things for cannabis, either deficiencies, diseases, bugs, anything, right? They just were open to collecting some samples. And everybody was like, nope, no, nothing here. We're all good, right? So there's that type of thing. We're dealing with that kind of approach where people don't want to say they have anything because potentially could hurt their credibility, or that type of approach. They want to show that they're great at cultivating. But that's kind of the obstacles that we're running into. But anybody that's scanning the plants right now, and when the AI identifies it, it's getting relabeled, and then those are reused and extra pictures that we can use to help diagnosis. And then to add to that, when we're working with Cornell, for example, she's been Heather Grav's been fantastic. She's a great individual. She's even sent us some pictures that we've put on the app for everybody to see for free. That she was like, okay, here's the Japanese lady beetle. That's one that recently this year has gotten a lot of popularity within the home grower community for the outdoor growers. And she was like, here's the symptoms. Here's how they eat the leaf. Like, here's what it looks like, which was fantastic. And it's great to have somebody like her that can certify that, right? So that's kind of like our approach at the moment. And we're going to try to work with other hemp cultivators in the United States to see what else type of insects that we can gather to continue to build the data set.
Oh, that's fantastic. And having, I would love to meet that young lady and say thank you, because, without that data and the willingness to give you that data, it's that much harder for you to gain it, which is helping everybody.
Right.
And maybe that's one of the things that we can focus on, and maybe even I can help with, is when I run into people that are growing, I can make sure that they have the app and they're sending in that data. And if they have an outbreak of something, that they are sharing that even while they're trying to get rid of it. But can they use video, or is it just straight pictures?
At the moment is only pictures. However, because the thing with video, it takes a lot more processing power. So if like right now with pictures, we're able to offer it to older Android devices or older iPhones. When we talk about video, that's going to be a thing. Again, and it's going to be a lot of work on our end too with the apps to have the AI. Basically, it needs to be on your phone rather than on a server. Those types of things. So there's a lot of things that need to be put in play. So this is definitely possible. We could definitely do that in the future. It's just a lot of work to incorporate and to build. So for now, we're just focusing on that individual picture to take and to diagnose.
Okay, well, I think that in the future, especially if you're working with farms, that just them walking through and taking a video as they're walking through and being able to get data off the video, not have to stop and take specific pictures, would probably be a way a lot of people would love to go, where I'm walking through and I'm checking my plants and I just have my phone and I'm taking a video as I go, and I can get diagnosis from there. What other ways can people get you more data, and who would you want the perfect data from? Like, obviously that's going to be in the scientific people, or is going to give you the perfect data. But is there ways that normal growers that are passionate about this plant and helping can do extra to give you guys extra input?
Yeah, that's absolutely that's one, especially like the use case that comes to mind here is anytime that Kieran or I are on Instagram or Facebook and we see somebody post about the mutation, so the like variegation with the plant, half of the leaf is yellow, that type of thing. We'll reach out and we'll say, hey, do you mind if we use these images? And that's the thing. Same with Cornell. When we post those in the app, we're not looking to take credibility. Like, that's not what we need to. What we're looking to do is just share this info with people that need this help. So when we put it on, and if you go look at variegation, we haven't collected a lot on ourselves. It's been, our friends in the industry or other people we saw online, and we will tag who they are. So if you look at the picture, you'll see, oh, it's Chuck Basement on Instagram that had this. And there's I think it was like Krusty Socks from Instagram as well. We've got some pictures of his mutation. And when it comes to Heather Grabs with Cornell as well, we put that on the bottom. So we definitely want to put credibility where the credibility needs to be. But what we just really want is to be able to have that accurate data and show it to the people that need it, right? So that the average person like you and I, if we're just in the garden and we take a picture and the app says this, and we can see the comparison and see, oh yeah, that a lot of people had it, and yeah, this is actually what it looks like, rather than not having any images at all, right?
Well, yeah, because without those images, your AI is not going to be able to do much. So the more images you have, the better off everybody's going to be.
Right.
So the GrowDoc, your website, is this the main place that people would go to download the app? Would they go to your Instagram? Could they get it off of your Facebook? And what do you have? Let's start with, what kind of stuff do you have on your YouTube channel?
Okay. Yes. So YouTube, I think we do need to do some new work on there. Originally, way back last year, we had done a few videos. So this was back before AC Infinity did their humidifiers. That was a problem of mine. Having a grow room 6x8, the enough humidity to keep running the plants in our experiments. So this is where I'm a tech and automation guy. So I got the Raspberry Pis, they call them. So they're mini type of computer where you can plug in some external sensors like some temperature, or it's a plug, and same Inkbird does the same thing. So I was just putting in on an interface that I could pull up on my computer and see the temperatures and that sort of thing. So we kind of did that, and then I built my own humidifier, which was using an ultrasonic mister. So these are the things that are the actual core component of a humidifier. These are things you can buy on Amazon or Alibaba. That basically, another use for them is the fountain. So if you go somewhere and they have a little fountain that's spraying a little bit of humidity and moisture in the air, that's that type of thing. So we did that into a 5-gallon bucket with a float, so it would keep the right amount of water where that ultrasonic mixture will make the humidity, and then using a little AC Infinity, almost like the ones that look like a computer fan, that would blow through the bucket and then shoot it out of the pipe. And then from there, we just put a hose and then attached another 5-gallon bucket, which was great for us, especially at times when we went to the lab or something like that, when I was getting frustrated. I had some humidifiers and I'm like, this is only lasting about 8 hours. Like, I'm not going to come every 8 hours to fill it. So this was great, having that extra 5-gallon bucket, just continue watering. And I think one day it was quite busy, and I think it lasted for 3 days without filling it. I filled it right to the brim. So that was amazing to know that, the humidity is good and it's not running out of water for that long. So that's kind of one video that we did, that I showed how to make that the ultrasonic mister that does a humidifier, and then the other one we just focused on power outages. Showed, well, I think everybody knows when you have a generator, but there's other things like the battery packs that are the larger ones. Purchased one that about $1,100. But when I had a grow tent, it could run the grow tent for about 4 hours. So when you have a power outage and you don't want your plants to hermy, that's a great tool to have as a backup to keep running it, because it's not just hermy. It's like, okay, when you have no electricity, your humidity and environment is not regulated. So if you want to keep those under control, here's your backup and that sort of thing. And for me, I love that. I still use it to this day. That battery bank. And that's one thing I brought with me. I sold the generator, but I brought that with me here. And, it comes to use too, when if you needed to cook some food or something, that's useful. But also, they're well made that you can even plug in a generator into it if you needed to. So, you can have it for 4 hours to run your tent. And then if you need that extra juice, you could plug in a generator for, I think, about 2 hours that it takes to charge. And then afterwards, you're good for another 4 or 6 hours. And then we were playing with dimming the lights as well. And if you had the lights at about 25%, then you could have 10, 12 hours if you needed to, depending on if you knew how long your power outage was, then you could use those to control. But yeah, those are the kind of 2 videos that we made. And other than that, we were kind of making videos about the plant deficiencies and things we covered, leaf hoppers we did, that sort of thing. But that's one we've been talking about internally to kind of restart our process into making videos for YouTube and that sort of thing.
Oh, that's fantastic. Like the old saying is a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, a video must be worth millions because you got all these pictures strung together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be fantastic if you could do that. And especially if you could get the universities to maybe, show a little bit of what they're doing, because that also gives, how would I say, uh, another voice of professionalism to when the people are watching to go, yeah, these guys aren't messing around. They know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's something that we're going to be doing with Niagara as well. We did a Zoom webinar, but the next one we're going to bring it to YouTube. We're going to make a YouTube live that'll be on our channel. We're planning one for end of this month. So that will be with Niagara College, just discussing what we're going to go through with the trials, that sort of thing. And as well as we're going to be, as we're boots on the ground here, we're going to be filming some videos, and we've already got media approval from Niagara College itself. So we're going to be, looking to showcase even their course and what they're going through. And when they do little experiments on their own with the course, we're going to be looking to showcase those, that sort of thing. So we're looking to make some real cool videos about what's going on there, and everything from the deficiencies to just how they're teaching the students there, that sort of thing.
Well, and it really helps to promote Niagara College, which I think is brilliant. That's creating a win-win again. It's a win for you guys. It's a win for them and for their students, because you're highlighting if the student will allow themselves to have a name and face on there, then they have a better opportunity as a knowledgeable person, because they've went through the course, to get a job in the profession. I think that's absolutely brilliant that you guys are going to collaborate. Are there any other collaborations that you can see happening in the future?
At this moment, it's hard to think about that. We kind of go on a 3 months plan right now. That's kind of just we're at the startup phase and we're kind of going at things. But yeah, our plan is to continue doing these webinars or YouTube lives and talk to a researchers that we're working with. So last month, as mentioned, we did the CCMB, our magnesium toxicity trial. We discussed about that. And then this next one will be with Niagara College, discussing boron deficiency, manganese, and copper. Basically, just what we're going to go through, how the trial is going to be conducted, that sort of thing. And as well, we're going to kind of touch on the past deficiencies studies that they've done as well. So, that's the starter point, but we have other connections as well. And, we're going to kind of try to keep this going, and potentially, I think Av on one of those would be great to have. So we're just going to look to make these webinar types to help educate the industry and have these people that are professional and have that extensive knowledge in the cannabis space be able to teach us something.
Well, speaking of Dr. Av Singh, and he's with the GrowDocApp, and I know they're coming to Alberta here. I believe it's in March. Are you going to be coming down for that? Because
I think it's May, but
May.
Okay. Right now I'm a maybe. I would love to, but it's going to depend on just where we're at financially with the business at that point. So if the investments is there, it's yeah. Otherwise, I was going to wait till probably September when they come here, Niagara Falls, and I could just drive, and that's no problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, going to Calgary, it's
Edmonton.
Edmonton. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
It's
time
it's in my
commitment,
neck
and
of the woods.
yeah, it's a time commitment as well. The flight and the stays, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what's the hesitation into going. But otherwise, I would love to be there. I'd love to be at every conferences. Lift and Co. I think is going on like next week. If we could, we would be there. But yeah, so anything going on in our neck of the woods, Toronto, Niagara Falls, or even New Brunswick, we're going to be there. Kieran's heading to one. I think it's this week. There's one in New Brunswick going on. I think it's mostly of the retailers, that sort of thing. But anywhere that we can be, we are going to be, because we got that passion in the cannabis industry, and we love just being around these people. Everybody, it's the similar vibes. Like, you're there, and the people really care about the plant and wanting to do something big.
Well, and a lot of people that don't understand that cannabis is so actually good for us, or that when you eat chocolate, it produces THC in your own body. Getting out into the community and letting them know, and the people that you interact with at the events are so passionate because they understand how much this plant can help people. And you, my friend, you're helping the grower and the consumer, and that's absolutely amazing. You and your partner are really pushing this to a new level that can really help people on the entire planet that really need to understand how to grow these plants so that we can help ourselves, our endocannabinoid system, in the interaction. So what are your challenges right now? Like, you've got this wonderful future that you're going to be bringing to us. But what challenges are you guys facing now? You mentioned financing, and that's a
Mm.
big one for everybody.
Yeah.
But what other ways are you having issues with that maybe we can help you with?
Yeah, I think the biggest one that I think we've already mentioned a few times is just the data set. That's the thing that really the machine needs to know. Like, it needs to have these pictures to learn from. So that's what our main focus is on. And then it's getting some decent quality and some high quality as well. So the middle stage is still really useful for the machine to learn. Let's say somebody had an older device, having the pictures in a lower format helps as well. So that sort of thing. So that's kind of our main focus, and the biggest challenge in the core of this, to keep making the app better.
So, how do you think would be a really good way to get this message out to more people to take these pictures on, even when their plant isn't having a deficiency, but to take the picture as a preemptive strike, say, because, like, as I said with John Burfello earlier, he saw something in his plants, and he's a guy that's been growing 40 plus years. He hadn't noticed the powdery mildew. The app did right away. How do we get across to more people that they should be doing this on a daily basis and not just a weekly?
Yeah, I guess that would just be I guess an awareness, and that would just and then that's that to point out the fact we just released a new AI yesterday, and then we included healthy. So we collected a bunch of healthy leaves from the control plants at these research facilities. So we've got that in now. So that's an extra indicator. Because before we were kind of going as the problem would say not identified, or plant problem not found, that sort of thing, meaning like we didn't find anything, so you're in the clear. So now we're more focusing on okay, here's we identify as healthy, rather than saying no, it's not found. So that sort of thing. So that's an extra use that now you can just scan and find out for yourself. Yeah, the app is saying it's healthy, I'm on good track. So you could just keep scanning, and then if it's all good, then you're good to go.
Oh, and that's fantastic because, having that positive input that you are doing it right is going to actually help to promote in the person inside going, okay, I want to keep doing this because I'm getting a positive reinforcement that I'm doing a good job. And, it's a more of a psychological thing for the person, but I think it's a good way to show them that they want to continue to do it because it's a benefit to them. Um, what else is there, Daniel, in your world right now that you're having a problem with? that you're searching for a solution for? Or is there anything?
That's it. And I mean, more people, like, we're a startup, so more people. That's another big one. And then with our investment raise, we're looking to add people to our team as well. One core one is a data filterer, basically we're going to call them, and a tester as well. So that's one that we're looking at now. Through these last years, we've hired some people, and we've kind of we've seen that we need cannabis specific people. We need people that are extremely passionate, and that's kind of what we're looking for now. We're not even we won't do an Indeed job. We're not looking at resumes. That's not really what we're looking at. We're looking at what's your passion in the space. And that's a thing now that we've done with the last role of our marketing person. We found a person that really cares about cannabis and is passionate about it, and that's kind of how it has to be. We've had people in the past that consume cannabis and weren't that crazy for, like, they consumed it but weren't that crazy for it. The passion wasn't there, the fire wasn't there, and that's a huge proponent into what we feel that's best. We want somebody to join us on our mission, and that can help us make this the best that it can be, so we can continue helping millions of people. So yeah, as mentioned, like, that's one thing when we're going to look for that role, we're going to be looking at on Reddit and those forums. I'm sorry, somebody just turned off the light. Put the light on, please.
There you go. Dad's not down there.
Dad's
We'll
not down
just he give me heck if I left the light on, so I better shut it off.
Yeah. Just one second, I'll put the light on.
Okay. So everybody, you've just heard that the GrowDoc is looking for people that are very, very passionate about growing and the plant itself. So how would somebody reach out to you, Daniel, if they were interested in pursuing a position with you? Would they just reach out on the growdoc.ca? Would we want to send them to
Instagram,
the
Facebook,
Instagram?
anywhere at all. Like, we've got our support email, hello@growdoc, so you can email there. My email is dan@growdoc. You can email us, mention that you're passionate about cannabis, and we're going to look, if it's you have the skills that from the role that's coming up, then we're happy to talk to you and to include you in our process of hiring. And then, as well as, we'll be posting when we do have those openings. We'll be going to the Reddit forums, the Facebook groups where people are that are passionate about cannabis. We'll be posting in there, so you can look out for that. And that's going to be our approach going forward. We're going to be looking at people in the community to join our team, rather than even if you're the best person but you don't care about cannabis, you might not be a good fit for us, right?
Yeah. So what specific jobs or qualifications are you looking for from people that have the passion for cannabis?
Yeah, so the next role, as mentioned, is going to be something along the sides of a quality assurance tester, so to test the apps, that sort of thing, and as well as the data analyst, somebody who's going to filter data. So this one's, we're more focused on somebody who has gone through and grown multiple times. If you're a novice grower, I mean, we could include you, but there's a lot of work to get done for you to get to par. But somebody knowing the at least some of the deficiencies, that sort of thing, that can help filter these pictures. So that's going to be the core quality we'll be looking for. And as well as I have a background in quality assurance and software testing, so I'm going to be your mentor and helping you learn what you need to learn in order to be able to test and do that aspect of the role. But as we're a startup, a lot of these roles are what they call multi-hat. So you're doing software testing one day, we're filtering pictures another day. You might even do some code or something like that. And that's the thing, that we have a very diverse team, and our team is very adaptable. So everybody helps each other out, and we can mentor you and teach you into certain roles. But yeah, the key thing is going to be you have the experience growing, so you can filter these pictures and that sort of thing.
And that's fantastic. And having that multi-dimensional team that can step in to the different basically hats, you could say, is such a benefit for a company, because you can monitor each other and go, oh, hey man, Daniel, you missed this, or something like that. And I think that that multi-dimension in a person is just as important, that they're willing to do different jobs and to take on those things to grow themselves, is something that is really a benefit for any company, is having that attitude. And I think it's the attitude and the passion. Like, that's why we call this show The Passion Within, because it's all about having that passion. Daniel, you wouldn't have invented what you have invented without that passion. And that's why you're looking for partners, both as employees and in the universities and financially, that have that core of passion, that want to help people. And I think you're an amazing man with an amazing product. I'd love to meet your partner one of these days. And we'll hook up at one of the grow ups, or one of the conferences. And, I'll give you a big Alberta bear hug, because I'm just a big bear. And thank you for coming with us and joining us today. You're an amazing man.
Thank you so much for your comments. This is very appreciated, and I would say the same to you. You're an amazing man for doing what you're doing, and I wish you and this show all the success, so that we can continue to share this passion that everybody has with the world.
Okay, I think we have one question from Silly Lily. What would your guest have to say to the youth of today about the passion it takes to find their path in life? Beautiful question, Silly Lily.
To find the passion, it's a hard one. I guess so. I kind of share a life experience, and it kind of involves the the part of the experience of life that I've went through. Just working at the last startup, I kind of climbed through the ladder and reached a point of, in New Brunswick, if you make a higher salary, which is like 60,000, you're quite well off compared to here in the Niagara region or anywhere else in Canada. So, I kind of reached that point, and it was like, what else? What am I actually doing? And I had these episodes in life of, things were going well and everything's fine, but it's like, well, what am I actually doing? And then I think that's the thing that the youth of today just kind of have to live life, but have a purpose to really do something meaningful. And just sometimes it'll be just working at a job, or you'll get the job that you need, but just you make a plan for yourself to follow that passion, right? I think the hard thing behind that is, even for me, like, I had this idea in 2018, early 2019, and it took me almost 6 months to test things out, to make sure it was viable, to save enough money, to then have a plan. Okay, my money is going to run out here. What's the next step after? Where do I get the next phase of money? That sort of thing. And then talking to people. So you got to have the passion to be able to build up that plan, that it's not going to happen overnight. And we've been at this for 2 years now already, and I haven't pulled a salary yet. I'm still putting every penny I have into this. I just sold my house recently, and I'm putting every single penny of that into this again. So it's the willingness to do something very meaningful, and having that purpose in your life. And it's going to take big risks, but that's kind of the advice I would have. Just see what you're really passionate about, and just start with making a plan. Just write a plan out, and then try to execute on that plan. And life's going to give you some curveballs, but in the end, if you're very persistent and you're passionate about that plan, you'll eventually get there, right? You'll go wiggly waggly, but you'll get there eventually, right?
I love that wiggly waggly. It'll go off the rails here and here, but I can't agree with you more, my friend, than, yes, you have to have that plan and then work the plan. And you also have to remember, if the plan is failing over here, change it.
Yeah.
Don't get so stuck into one methodology that you don't see what's over here, because that's a loss. But you're amazing.
And I think to add on to that, you can, like, where I am today, let's say this continued, and let's say we fail. Okay, let's say, and I've gained so much experience and connections, that sort of thing. I'm not where I was 2 years ago, and that's another thing that I think is not really said or forgotten. It's like, yes, you'll go on this journey, but what you'll have learned on this journey will stay with you forever. So you won't be at the same part that you started. You'll be somewhere totally different, and probably a different person as well. You have a different view of life, a different mindset, that sort of thing. So afterwards, it's like what you can do. You'll have different opportunities. So yeah, if you're passionate about something, and even especially if you're in the cannabis space and you see something, a new product or new thing that needs to be created, go ahead, do it. And just be out there, and you will get some support. People will see what you're doing, and if they really love it, they're going to support you. And even for myself, if I saw you're doing something great, I'm going to help support you as much as I can, right? Because that's what we kind of need. We need this cannabis industry to keep growing, and to create what is not existent yet, and that is very beneficial for us as human beings.
Well, and that's where my focus is a global rising of everybody, both in an energetic and a positive outlook, but in a health outlook as well. And you're helping that in many ways, shapes, and forms, my friend. And Kieran, I saw Kieran Oliver. Kieran, I should have you be booked next, brother, and you get on here.
Yes,
We'll
he
talk
should.
about your passion.
Yes. I'd love for him to say the story about how we went down with like the whole growing for the whole year at home and that sort of thing. He has his own story, and Kieran is one that has came in and really has that passion for cannabis.
Yeah.
That's why he's with me still today. He's got that passion, and we've built something together that is really amazing.
And that is amazing, because most times without that passion, people just keep butting heads and separate in business because they don't have a path and a passion they're sharing.
Mhm.
And you guys are able to share that passion, and that makes it all that much more smooth in the relationship, because you're on the same path. You have the same destination that you're going to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So with that, my friend, I think we're going to end the show. As I said, thank you very, very much for coming, and talk to Kieran, kick him in the butt, and we'll have to get him on here.
Oh yes. I'll send him on. He'll come on. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. And then we'll hear the flip side of the coin. Maybe he'll crack a couple of jokes about silly things that you've done,
Yeah,
in
potentially.
this
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, maybe he will. Yeah, he knows a lot as well. We've worked really close together for that first year for sure. He was at my house every single day while we were growing those plants, and then since then we kind of I moved here. Obviously, we're at a different spot, but we still have that chat every day, and we're still talking, and things are just different now than they were. But it's a sign of progression and growth. So
Well, thank you very much for what you guys are doing to help us all. It is greatly appreciated, from me especially, but I think anybody that's used your app and has solved the problem, they're going to be appreciative of what you guys are doing too. And I hope that you can expand into the vegetable market and tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers, because then you're just going to expand the availability of love that's going to flow your direction. Because anybody that's having a problem and uses your app and gets the solution, they're going, thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Kieran. You saved my plants. And
yeah,
that's just wonderful, my friend.
thank you for everything you're doing as well. Thank you for having us on the show. It's amazing, and we hope to keep coming on and contributing as much as we can.
And that'll be fantastic, and we'll definitely have you back, especially when you start getting into the more the bugs,
Mhm.
and getting that going, because that's the next step. I see you guys going down and just crushing it to help us all.
Yeah, that's amazing, and we'll continue the conversation. And if I can help get any other guests on the show, we'll be happy to do so.
Oh, well, hey, I'm always up for more people to talk to. I can talk all day. My wife just tells me that all the time.
That's good. Sometimes it's good to spread some good knowledge. So
Yes.
yeah.
And with that, guys, we're going to hit the end broadcast. And I got a couple of shows tomorrow on The Passion Within. So, follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. It's new, it's fresh. It's all going to be about the passion, about soil, about growing with biology. And growing doesn't matter what you grow or how you grow it. Just keep growing. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on the next show.